right, now we're gonna be talking about strength training for skiing, because you have to maintain strength and balance from your feet all the way up through your shoulders into your head in order for you to maintain good alignment and posture while going downhill. The moment you become weak in any one spot, that can hinder your performance and also cause major disaster out there, right? So if you're not strong, you're weak, your legs get tired over time, and you're in a steep face and you're trying to make a turn and you just don't have it anymore, it's not a good day. So we're gonna work on being strong. And again, being strong on a single leg is so important. It's probably the most important thing you have to do. You have to have balance and strength in a single limb in order for you to control turns side to side, as well as adequate core strength to do this. The way we're gonna start this off is we went through mobility training already. We talked about the ankles, we talked about the hips, the thoracic spine, and the shoulders. That's the first part. The next part is now we gotta strengthen up our whole chain from the bottom up. So we start from our feet, and I prefer to do this barefoot. And the reason why I prefer to do this barefoot is so we can sense the sensation of what the ground feels like underneath our foot, because directly affected is how we can apply pressure to the ground is into our boots. And going into our boot is gonna apply pressure into our ski, which now translates into being able to handle the snow that's there. Again, ideally we would all love a big powder day that's this nice and flowy and fun, but most of the time it's not like that, especially in New Mexico. We don't get very much snow here. So being able to apply pressure into your feet is gonna be directly affected to applying pressure into your boots. So we gotta do, shoes off first, moving our feet. We gotta be able to feel how that ground feels. What I tell people is you should feel the bottom of your foot from your heel to that base of the big toe, the base of your pinky toe. This is your tripod. These are strong. You should have an arch right here on the inside. You're actually gonna have an arch between this, and you're gonna have an arch over here. So you have three major arches that form a triangle pattern from the bottom of our foot. Now we're also gonna talk about applying pressure with our big toe and all throughout our toes. So the way we do that, we're gonna start off here. We're gonna pick all our toes up. We're gonna drive our toes into the ground. So I'm starting off with a nice solid base. So I'm feeling pressure all throughout those same regions I just talked about, from the heel, the base of the big toe, base of the pinky toe, and into my toes. I'm able to feel that pressure. So once we're able to establish pressure, now we're gonna talk about how we move the hips from side to side and actually get into internal external rotation. So we're gonna do that with the mini band. So now that we have the mini band on, we're gonna think right back to our feet again. So it starts at the feet have to be strong. The mini band's gonna be, for today's sake, I'm gonna put it right below my knees. You can put it above if it's a little too hard down low, because again, the closer you are to where the origin is, the easier it is. So I'm gonna go a little bit further away. But I'm gonna start, the way I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna kind of sit my hips back a little bit, and I'm gonna keep pressure into my feet. So I'm thinking of my ski posture right here. Knees are slightly pushed forward, so I'm applying pressure into my boot, but I'm sitting back into my hips because I wanna feel the load here. As I do this, internal external rotation, my feet stay glued to the ground, but I just move my knees in and out, and that motion comes from right here, right in the hips. So if I start to work on those hips to develop some awareness of what should feel, what I should feel here, again, it's all glute. If you're feeling this in the quad, which is very, very common feedback that I hear from a lot of my clients, typically that means that they're doing this. And that's just a subtle little shift, but that pressure forward now puts all the load right here. And I took off load right here. So this went soft, and look, I'm just gonna shift my hips back. That little motion will change where you feel this exercise. If you're too far forward, you're getting all quad here. If you're a skier and you're feeling your quad starting to burn, you're probably in this position where you're riding on you're basically hanging off your knees right here. I call those people knee squatters, because when you squat down, you squat with your knees first. What I wanna work on is establishing hip control. So, internal external rotation, that's number one. Number two, we're actually gonna do a little bit of lateral walking. So think of sidestepping here. And I'm gonna go real small ranges here, but typically we do about 10 each direction. And as you notice, I'm pretending I have my skis on my feet, and I'm just taking steps, not crossing my toes over. My feet are pointed straight ahead. Another big one is being able to walk forward here. Again, I'm walking a straight line, train tracks, back and forth. So we aware of where our feet need to be, we're aware of where our hips need to be. Now, we take that off, and we're gonna start now from the single leg stuff, the things I was talking about earlier. So we should adequately be able to do a split squat. A split squat is starting from the ground. My hips are level. This is one big thing I need to see is level hips. A lot of times I see clients get up and they start right here. Two major reasons. One is they're super tight from this hip flexor here or that glute on this opposite leg. So the ideal goal is to be able to push those hips down and get them level and actually lean into this front foot. So the majority of my weight is right here driving through my whole foot, thinking of that strong platform and being able to drive straight up. So now I'm working on single leg strength, keeping my knee in line with my second and third toe, and I'm driving from this right glute. So again, I'm trying to establish glute strength. And I'm thinking of where my knee is. Because a lot of times you may hear stories of friends or even yourself have maybe injured a knee while skiing. That's very common, and a lot of reasons is our knees get inside of us and we put a lot of stress through the knee itself, and those muscles and tendons aren't meant to support this position here and ligaments, right? This is not optimal. This is optimal because we're stacked. We're able to keep pressure where it needs to be and driving up and down. So these are adequate positions and strength patterns that you should be able to do. Again, working on ankle mobility because that's a big one. Another big one, again, I'm talking about single leg strength, but we also got to build a squat because a lot of times, again, we ski with two legs on the ground, even though we're wading side to side. But there's many times, if you're like me, you like to take jumps and stuff, so being able to land and squat, that's a big thing, right? You gotta be able to drop those hips down and come right back up. And it's not a full squat. I don't have the good, proper range to get into a nice full squat, even though I can get about, I would say 3/4 of the way down, trying to keep my feet straight. But all we need for skiing is being able to drop into this position. This is all we need. And as I do this, I'm dropping my hips back, loading my glute, and I'm pushing my knees forward, pushing against the boot itself and pressing against my hips. Again, notice I told you we also want to keep equal pressure on the boot itself. Because again, we're thinking of creating that long line, that edge line, right? So we have ankles, mobility, we worked on single leg strength. Again, we talked about that split squat, we talked about the bilateral squat. Well, we keep moving up the chain now. Now we gotta start talking about the core. The core is such an important piece of skiing because it is your direct connection between your shoulders and your legs. Without having a good strong core and being able to go down the fall line here and turn your hips how you need it to turn, well, you're not gonna be able to turn your skis fast enough, which will get you into big trouble, especially if you're in a chute, because you're trying to stay in this zone and there's nowhere where to go, right? So what ends up happening, you sidestep down or slide down. But we want to try to make some turns, right?